This week in Battlefield 5, discussion surrounding the when and what of Chapter 7, Frontlines and Rush possibly returning in a joint playlist, the Grand Operations Rework continues to progress, and a crazy 6-man roadkill on Marita. This is your week on the Battlefield. Welcome to this episode of This Week on the Battlefield, the show where we cover news, updates, the community, and so much more, all around the Battlefield franchise. As per usual, there's much to cover, so let's jump straight into it. Our main news story this week is undoubtedly the discussion surrounding Chapter 7, primarily focused on the when, but also of course the what. Now, so far we have no specific indications officially as to either, but with the next update coming in May, so far referred to by community managers as Update 6.6 and not, as would be expected, Update 7.0, it would seem that Chapter 7 has been delayed, at least for the moment. Alternatively, of course, it could be that it was never intended for Chapter 7 to follow straight on the heels of Chapter 6, but with the data mined evidence pointing to plans to release a 5th and probably final Pacific map in the later stages of Chapter 6, and those evidently now not coming to fruition, what seems the most likely course of action is another Battlefest-esque mini-chapter to tie us over a few weeks before we move on to Chapter 7 and likely a new theatre of war. I'd like to point out that this is an educated and informed guess, nothing more, and thus anything is at this point of course truly possible. If you're wondering what such a mini chapter may include, well, besides the data mined Pacific Ocean map, possibly either representing the Battle of Okinawa or Battle of Midway, the possibilities include additions of course in the weapons department with the Type 44 carbine, M3 infrared sniper, Type 99 mine and the Doppelschuss flare gun, which has supposedly now been fixed according to Temporyal and should be ready for launch. So if Chapter 7 is to be delayed and we get a mini chapter in between, what are we to expect from it when it finally does come around? Well, the bets are currently evenly divided between the Allied landings in Normandy and the Western Front, or of course, over on the Eastern Front, the long overdue introduction of the Soviets. On what little we have seen in the files so far, there does seem to be some work being done on German and American vehicles, specifically the M3 Greyhound and Sonderkraftfahrzeug 234, as well as the P-51 Mustang, but really, there's no way to make even an educated guess on the currently available information, so really, it's anyone's guess. In terms of smaller news ticket items, we have our weekly Tides of War assignment, Iron in the Fire, featuring a set of outpost and squad focused tasks, accompanied of course by the temporary return of Outpost as a game mode that is accordingly featured in its own playlist and available on Mercury, Aros, Aerodome, Pacific Storm and Iwo Jima. We also have the continuation of the login rewards if you sign into the game on the 6th or 7th, 8th or 9th, 10th and 13th or 14th, you'll be rewarded with 1,500 company coins each time for a total possible of 6,000. And additionally, we're getting another vehicle customization this weekend. So right now, for those wondering, the specific vehicle set is the Ready for War for the Panzer IV, already teased of course last week in game, so log in quickly if you want to grab that for free. Next week's Tides of War assignment, week 11 of Chapter 6, Full Throttle, features a series of vehicle-related tasks, so you'll be able to use that new vehicle customization set. And of course, much like this week's assignment, will reward you with either 100 points or a tier skip reward token, depending on whether you've already unlocked all of the Chapter 6 rewards. In our ever-popular, ever-evolving and always relevant soon TM category of news, there are a few smaller bits of information that community managers have been sharing on various platforms. Firstly, as to some of the upcoming weekly playlists, DICE is looking to feature some remixed playlists with the current internal favorite being a Frontlines Rush combination, something I personally of course would absolutely love. Further to that, the fight for the return of Frontlines isn't quite over just yet. In fact, community manager Braddock confirmed this week that he is still actively pushing for it personally. Hopefully, he can actually make it happen, as of course most of you will know, Frontlines is my favorite game mode, all the way back from Battlefield 1 and of course also in Battlefield 5. Then we also have another small update on some of the soldier cosmetic reworks taking place. I should probably note these are being done on some of the default and company coin cosmetics, not necessarily the epic or even rare, let alone Boyne's exclusive or elite characters and their cosmetics. As demoed here by community manager Welsh, there has been a few further shifts in color to make uniforms more authentic alongside some changes to the helmets. To be honest, I'm not necessarily someone who is largely interested in the most true to history cosmetics for the game, but even I will admit these are, well, flat out better looking than what we've had so far, and if they're more historically accurate in doing so, all the better. Over in our temporal goodness, as always of course to be taken with a generous helping of salt given the data mining origins of the provided information, we have further updates on the Soviet LAD LMG, which with update 6.2 received new sound effects as well as the overheating and reloading animations that it was missing. The weapon was originally scheduled to be part of the cancelled competitive mode, so its current intended release is of course entirely unclear, and I wouldn't necessarily say it points towards a Chapter 7 being focused on the Soviets just yet. Further, this week we got another update on the Grand Operations rework that has been slowly taking place in the background according to data mining since the 4.4 update. The TLDR version here is basically things are going back to close to what we had in Battlefield 1 with operations. Full details on all of the information surrounding this topic can be found in a dedicated video I made on just that, linked of course in all of the usual places. And lastly, for temporal data mining, we have of course some cosmetics, specifically 2 epic soldier sets for the German and UK factions in the Landsknecht and irregular sets, and a whole host of unreleased Corsair paint jobs of varying rarities, and of course some of them most likely Boyne's exclusive. Over in our community news, with things surrounding Battlefield 5 largely of course being quiet, so has been the community. There's no need to repeat here the obvious fact that the lack of content is strangling what is left of the Battlefield 5 player base, at least at the moment. What I did want to highlight in this section this week though was a post by Purple Toaster over on Reddit, who laid out the content roadmap for Battlefield for Chapter 7 all the way out to Chapter 9 in an ideal, or frankly more likely alternative universe. Interesting additions include Firestorm being made free to play, new maps, the introduction of course of the Soviets, and a rework of many of the problematic or frustrating areas of the game such as UI, assignments, armory and distance haze, not to forget of course the lack of a team battle. Who knows, maybe we're lucky and most of this actually comes to fruition in the next few months for Battlefield 5. That of course would be awesome, and we would end up getting that turnaround so many of us are hoping for. But over in our only in Battlefield moments, this week we start off with Bear Zeus and an absolutely great aggressive recon play on Arras.
Yeah, I do. All I have to really do is just turn it on and get my sensors squared away in the room. That's it. Little room set up.
Next up, we have a pretty crazy clip sent in by Ludos, a total of 18 kills over just under 2 minutes, and I've cut it down here a little bit, but there are some truly great triple and quad kills mixed in. Remember, if you want your own Only in Battlefield moments featured on the show, don't forget to submit them either at definedisaster@gmail.com or via Twitter at definedisaster.
Head on the tower. Is upgradable.
Oh my lord! No way.
Is it still bleeding?
Take some drivers for the round back much.
Yeah,
Isn't a bit bleeding. Oh,
Oh.
they made it.
I know it's large game, it's a baby still. Unless I get another one, I can't do the fucking song.
Literally, you do have to do the tower thing.
Oh my god. Another.
Come on again.
Yes.
Next up, another community submission, Akram Rock with a multi-role kill over on Marita. And lastly today, we have Squirrel and some long-range Fliegerfaust action. But coming to the end of this week's episode then, if you enjoyed the show, found it interesting or entertaining, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, share, and of course hit me up with your feedback, suggestions, and opinions down below in the comments or over on Twitter. With that being said, however, I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and hope to see you in the next episode this week on the battlefield.